welcome back to my channel. It is officially episode 3, guys. I just want to start off by saying thank you for all the support, all of the likes, all of the subscribes, all of the comments. They are much appreciated. Today I want to get into a little something. And the topic that I want to be talking about today is overcoming toxic friendships and finding yourself. In this case, me finding myself. And today I want to talk about that because it's been heavy on my heart. I want to talk about how toxic friendships affect your self-esteem and your emotional health. I don't think people talk about this enough. Over the years, for me, I have had friends who were manipulative, unsupportive, and very dismissive. And for a very long time, guys, I blamed myself for the dynamic of how some of my relationships ended. Thinking that I just needed to be better, do better, or I could have handled it better. But I say my turning point came. It was when I realized that friendships that were draining my energy didn't deserve me no more. And I say that because a lot of those friendships was holding me back from healing. And I have and still have a lot of, I had and I have still have a lot of healing to do. Leaving them was very necessary. Because in order for me to prioritize myself, I had to choose me. And a lot of the times in those friendships that I'm no longer in, I wasn't choosing me. I was choosing how everyone else felt except for me. So, a question. Is it terrifying? Does it hurt? Do you have fear of leaving a toxic friendship? Of course, because we are human, and a lot of the times, even though people hate to admit it, people hate being judged. And when those friendships, depending on how they end, you're facing a whole bunch of judgment. But you just gotta have the courage to say, stick it where the sun don't shine. I want to talk about what has helped me to find myself, and what has helped me to get through these relationships. The ending of them. So at 34, I decided to go to therapy. I decided to go to therapy because I knew that things were not right with me. I wasn't able to pinpoint exactly what it was that was wrong with me. Like, I was self-diagnosing myself, but I wasn't accepting the self-diagnosis, because I self-diagnosed myself with depression a long time ago. Did I accept it? No. I felt like my community and the people that I were around, it wasn't talked about enough, and it wasn't recognizable. Like, and I say recognizable because I suppressed my depression. So a lot of my peers or a lot of people within my community or my job, nobody knew that I was depressed because I hid it very well. Anytime I was going through something, I was suppressing how I felt, hiding my emotions, overdoing something just so that I'm not acknowledging or accepting that I'm depressed. So I would work millions of hours. I would take vacations. I would overshop. These were just signs that I was trying to fill a void that needed to be acknowledged, and it needed to be talked about, and I needed the help, but I didn't have the people to support me, to say friend or sis or niece or cousin, I see that you're hurting, and I feel that you need to either vocalize it or you need to go get help because you're going in a dark place. It took me to prioritize myself, to say enough is enough, Raven. You have to leave this toxic environment. You have to leave these toxic friendships. You have to leave these things alone in order for you to heal. And once I made that decision to call that number on the back of my insurance card to say, hey, I'm finally at a point where I know I'm no longer mentally strong how I used to be, and it's affecting my everyday behavior. It's affecting my hormones. It's affecting the way I eat, the way I think, the way I sleep. I need help. And once I made that phone call and I was signed up with a therapist, my life slowly began to change. One thing that has helped me overcome toxic friendships was journaling. My therapist advised me that I should start a journal. And from that day, I went to Dollar Tree, got me a little notebook, and then I got me some colorful pens because I was excited. I said, oh, I could write this on paper and nobody's going to judge me, and I could say this out loud without feeling some type of way. I knew then that journaling has now gave me a safe space to write my unfiltered truth. It was things that I couldn't say out loud yet. It was things that I wasn't ready to accept. I now know that therapy has helped me understand why I tolerated certain behavior for so long. And journaling has taught me to accept what has already occurred and move on. So I'm here to tell you, if you guys are in a toxic friendship, get you a journal, write about it. There's nobody there to judge you. You can be as raw as you want to be, because I know what it feels like. Like, imagine having a friend who, instead of sitting down to have a real conversation with you, they threaten to fight you. Like, how do you feel in those moments? I know when that situation happened to me, I felt very small. I didn't feel unsafe. I didn't feel unsafe physically because I knew I could handle myself. But I felt unsafe mentally. Like, I knew that this was not safe. Like, it didn't make any sense to me that I have a friend that I have been confiding in. I'm talking about heavy stuff. Me going through grief, me going through work stress, me talking about my infertility, me just talking about what's going on in my life. I knew that support is supposed to feel like love. It's supposed to feel like genuine. I know that when reality hits, that no matter what's going on and how it's going on, that that person that I labeled as my friend, is supposed to show up for me. And I knew when the dynamic changed from me knowing that this person was never my friend because it took you to threaten me, the only thing you could have done is turn to violence, that a situation that was never that serious to where we couldn't have had a conversation about, that you literally would threaten to harm me, that means that you never really had a care for me. That means that at some point you felt that you didn't like me. At some point you felt that you had anger towards me. At some point you felt that you had animosity towards me. And at some point you knew that the relationship didn't need to go on, but you continued to go on, and you manipulated me into thinking that we were still friends, and you really wasn't. So I know that friendships are not supposed to feel like survival. So I turned to my journal because I could have turned back to the person that I'm changing from. I could have been, you know, the energy could have been reciprocated. I could have been just as aggressive and just as violent and just as hateful with the words and the thoughts, but it wasn't for me. That's not who I want to be. That's not how I want to feel. So I learned that you can't call everybody your friend, and you have to set boundaries. Boundaries aren't, walls. They are doors that you and I control. Saying no to somebody, something that's small, like for me, not answering a late night call. People always call me late and think I want to hear them vent. Not saying I don't, but when it's time for me to vent, I'm never checked up on. I never get a phone call. So at first, my no's, I felt guilty about. But now, me saying no is actually saying yes to my peace. And I'm choosing my peace over anything these days. I don't care how long we were friends. I don't care how long we were cousins. I don't care if we can't be disconnected because we joined by blood. I really don't care no more. I'm choosing me. And I want to say to ladies, and if there's any fellas watching, set your boundaries. Know when to say no. Know what can impact you from, continuing to be in a toxic relationship, a toxic friendship. It impacts your self-esteem and it impacts your mental health. Journal, because that's a support of healing. Start with a daily ritual. You know, I, if you're struggling whether to hold on to let go of a friendship, ask yourself, does this relationship pour into me or does it drain me? Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's sacred. And we can get into another episode of this toxic relationship stuff, toxic friendship stuff. But I want to say thank you to everybody who has liked, subscribed, and commented. I want y'all to continue to follow me on this journey.